Is this the England team for Scotland on Saturday evening? Some journalists feel fairly confident that it is. So that's what this video is all about. If this is England's team for Saturday, how do you feel about that? I want your comments. I'd love your subscription as well if you haven't already. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Loads of Six Nations content coming your way, including from Twickenham this very weekend. I will be giving a reaction straight after the final whistle. I hope it's a good one, selfishly as an Englishman. I'm a little bit fearful though, but we're a little closer, we feel, to knowing what Steve Borthwick's first England side will be. Could it be these 15 names? Definitely some question marks there. This conversation has all been sparked because Steve Borthwick has sent a bunch of players back to their clubs. And there's some notable ones here. There's others, but the notable ones are... Well, firstly, it's important to say that Dan Kelly and Henry Slade are both injured. I think they both would have been starting against Scotland in England's midfield, which throws up a lot of questions about what's going to happen there, of course. But it's the other four names are the ones that have been sent back to their club. Alex Mitchell at scrum half, Jack Willis in the back row, Johnny Hill in the second row, and Caden Murley, the winger. And that's thrown up all kinds of questions about how Steve Borthwick is going to set up his side. I think it's important to point out, actually, that maybe Jack Willis might be a little different from the others. Jack Willis, it appears, has paid the price for being at a French club, and as a result, he's had limited time with the New England coaching staff, and that may be why he's missed out on this occasion. It may well be the case that had Jack Willis been in camp the whole time, he would be starting or on the bench, or at least in the 23, like I say, for England against Scotland. But because he had to go back and play for Toulouse, he may have missed out on this particular occasion, which is a shame for him if it is the case. I guess we don't totally know. Kevin Sinfield hinted that that might be a factor, but we don't know. I suspect that is the case. As for Johnny Hill, well, that's a little bit of a sea change because he's kind of been... he was Eddie Jones's man in the engine room, wasn't he? Caden Murley, a lot of people will be disappointed about that because he's been tearing it up in the Premiership. I think the fact there is they love Ollie Hassel-Collins, as do I. As these videos recently, you'll know, I'm a massive fan of Ollie Hassel-Collins, and I think two uncapped wingers for a start of a Six Nations and a start of a new era under Steve Borthwick, maybe a little risky. Alex Mitchell's the one I'm most disappointed about because I think he has the tempo that you need at international level, that Jamison Gibson-Park, that Aaron Smith, and the best qualities, Antoine Dupont, of course. They just have a speed of game that I think is really important at the international level, and I think Alex Mitchell could have given us that. As for the how that makes the team look, if we jump back to that England team now, I think the first thing that's really important to point out is that this is only speculation. There may be a few positions that you may be close to approaching what it's going to be. In the past, under a number of England coaches, there would always be leaks, and the team would always come out before it was announced. I'm telling you, that's not going to happen under Steve Borthwick. I work in the Premiership with BT Sport, and Steve Borthwick had it on lockdown at Leicester. You couldn't even find out whether people were injured or not. They would not give you any information. So I'm absolutely certain that even though there's more scrutiny, there's more eyes and ears watching what's going on, I'm certain the journalists do not know what the England team is, because Steve Borthwick will have it on lockdown. Quite often teams come out and get leaked because players that are involved are really excited and they tell a relative who then tells someone else and it gets out. That will not happen with this England team. I'm absolutely certain Steve Borthwick will have told his players, you keep your mouth shut or it could cost you your place. And he'll mean that as well. So this is just purely speculation, but nevertheless, let's take a look at it. And the interesting calls are, well, there's quite a few of them in the pack, isn't there? Ben Curry. I mean, if he does get a start, as is rumoured to be the case this weekend, that will be a fantastic story. He was originally, it was in 2017, he was named on the bench against the Barbarians for England just before their tour of Argentina. And Tom Curry wasn't even in the 23. Ben Curry got an injury, had to pull out. Tom Curry took Ben's place on the bench, got a man of the match performance and got himself into the team on the Argentina tour, and the rest is history. 45 caps later, Tom Curry is an ever-present and a world-class back row player, and Ben Curry's had to play most of his rugby at Sale Sharks. Just the one cap for Ben Curry. He could double that this Saturday, and if he does, I will be absolutely delighted for him. He's a thought to have won the battle over the 7 shirt from Ben Earl, who'll be on the bench. What that means for the blindside flank is pure speculation. It appears Alex Dombrandt is the favourite to take number 8, and again, I'm very happy about that. I've only put Lewis Ludlam there, not because this is what's being rumoured, but just I'm guessing, I'm filling in the blanks. We don't know what's going on at 6. There's been some talk of Nick Ezekwe being in training in the blindside position. That could happen. I hope it doesn't. Lewis Ludlam, I think, is, as I've mentioned on previous videos, I think he's Steve Borthwick's kind of a man. Just very much like Jasper Wiese at Leicester, just a violent ball carrier. And I really like him. The front row, Dan Cole is going to be involved because Joe Hayes has been sent back to Leicester. Whether Dan Cole starts or comes off the bench with Carl Sinclair, that's a toss of a coin. They're both going to play. Behind the scrum, it gets quite interesting as well, doesn't it? Because with Dan Kelly and Henry Slade both out, and I think they both would have started, and the players that have been sent back to their clubs, you've got a question mark, haven't you? Basically, is it going to be Farrell, Tuolangi, Marchant with Smith on the bench, or is it going to be Smith, Farrell, Tuolangi, or I suppose it could be Smith, Farrell, Marchant? Probably unlikely that particular combination. But again, if it's a little bit like looking at the Wales team yesterday. Not a great deal has changed from Wayne Pivac's side to Warren Gatland's side. It could be the case that not a lot has changed from Eddie Jones's England team to Steve Borthwick's England team. And then the question is, how much can one coach change things, or a team of coaches change things in a short period of time? And I think the example there we have to look at is Harlequins, where with the same players, Paul Gustard left when they were not doing well, fresh approach, fresh energy, and the team went on and won the Premiership. We've also got Wayne Smith with the New Zealand women's team, who turned it around in 9 months. There are these examples of immediate changes, not least when Eddie Jones came in after the 2015 World Cup, got a Grand Slam, unbeaten in 18, 19 games, equaling a world record. So it can and does happen, and I expect the same to happen under Steve Borthwick, even if the personnel isn't too dissimilar from what it was before. That said, and I've been raving about Ollie Hassel-Collins for weeks on these videos, if he is starting, which it appears that he is, I'm absolutely delighted for him, and I love the look of that back three. I think Anthony Watson is a class act. But we have to be honest, when we look at this 15, it is only speculation. The ones there's all the positions I've taken out where it appears there's more question marks. It looks like Ben Curry has got the nod at 7, but it could well be Ben Earl. Tight head is a toss of a coin. Second row the same. Blindside the same. 9, 10, 13, all the same. These appear to be the, what have we got there? 5, 9 names, which people seem fairly confident are going to start for England. But if we're being really honest, the ones you can really only guarantee are probably going to start are, also I've gone back the wrong way, are those names there. Freddie Stewart, well, I mean, you could even take Ollie Hassel-Collins out of that. It appears with Caden Murley going back to his club, Anthony Watson being a late call-up after coming back from injury, that Ollie Hassel-Collins is pretty much nailed on to be starting on the wing. But really, Freddie Stewart, Owen Farrell, Maro Itoje, Jamie George, Ellis Genge, 5 names, maybe a 6th, that you can be very confident are going to be starting. That you would bet on those 5, Stewart, Farrell, Itoje, George and Genge. If you had to put your mortgage on 5 players starting for England, those would be the 5, which I think tells you a lot about where England are at. And I think it also tells you that whilst a lot of people always talk about the massive depth that England have got in their player pool, and that is true, if a player goes down injured, as we've seen, there's lots of players you can bring in. Guys like Ollie Lawrence can come in when a centre goes down. However, are those players at the required level to be international starters? We don't know yet. We're hoping so, but this is it. There's a lot of players. There's not a lot of real top-end talent in this England squad. So I would just temper the excitement we're feeling and the optimism we're feeling about a new dawn, because I'm telling you, Scotland, they know probably 12 or 13 out of their 15, and a lot of those players are comfortably the best in their position, and quite a few of them would get into the England team if you had the choice of all of them. And that's something I'll be doing when both teams are announced, a little bit of a combined 15. But if that is the England 15, the one that's been rumoured, What do you feel about it? What you got to say? How optimistic are you for Steve Borthwick's new era? Leave your comments, hit subscribe, and there'll be more videos to come. Nice one.